Hello, day 9. On the 9th day of Christmas, my true love said to me, 9 ladies dancing. Now for this one, I don't have any ladies dancing, but I thought it would be fun to do ninja breadmen. So I've got 9 ninjas dancing. Now these I used to make for my son when he was little, ninja breadmen, and loved it. Then you decorate it with a bit of royal icing sugar. Best thing. I used to make them to give as little presents at the end of the year instead of a lolly or something like that. And needless to say, everybody loved them, even the teachers. This one is going to be really fun as I'm making gluten-free ninja bread men. Time to get fun and creative with this, so let's get baking. So what do we do with the ninja bread men? This one I'm going to make it a gluten-free version. So for this you need your gluten-free flour base, which you can either buy it or you make it up as you need at home. So mine is a mix of rice flour, arrowroot flour or tapioca, they're sort of relatively interchangeable, and corn flour. So for this it's 5.5 tablespoons. With this I've also added glutinous rice flour. So all that means, it doesn't have gluten in it, it just means it's more sticky, so that gives you more of that glutinous feel and to help bind everything like normal wheat flour would do. So here we go with 5.5 tablespoons. Remember, don't ever pack anything down when you're baking, because otherwise you end up with more flour, sugar, whatever it may be, and that'll throw your recipe out of whack. So that's 5.5. And there's the red rice flour. Red rice flour, again, you can get from either Indian grocery store, or you might be able to find it in other Asian grocery stores. I like to use the red rice flour whenever I'm doing anything sweet, because it gives a bit of color and it does have a little bit of extra sort of sweetness flavor. So otherwise I find whenever you're using the rice flour and that, they're pretty bland and they doesn't have any color. And ninja bread men, they need to have some color and flavor. And remember, whenever you're doing gluten-free baking, depending on what it is that you're doing, you need to add xanthan gum, or you can use agar-agar. Or when I'm making bread, I use a xanthan gum, but I also put some psyllium husks, because that also gives you, it makes like a little bit, gets a bit gelatinous when you leave it soaking in water, and it's a prebiotic. So that's a teaspoon of the xanthan gum. And then we need to put in some bicarb, because again, we want the ninja bread men to rise a little bit. Normally you would put baking powder, but because we're putting golden syrup in it, that activates the bicarb. So, and this, you cannot substitute any other sort of sweetener, whether it's rice bran flour. It's not going to work. It's not going to give you the color, the consistency. And I like my ninja bread men to be quite hard. So that's 1/2 teaspoon. And then we sift it all in. Now with this, it's really hard to make it completely dairy free. So it's either use lactose free butter, normal butter, or you could use ghee, because you need the firmness from that to make it work, so that you can roll it out and then cut out your shapes. Because I tried before using other alternatives and it just didn't get firm enough. And you don't want to be using coconut oil, because that's going to be too heavy. It's going to, it's going to interfere with the flavor of the ginger. Now we've got our brown sugar. So for the brown sugar, it's 45 grams. It's 45 grams, or roughly 2 packed tablespoons. We add the brown sugar and the ginger. Again, with the ginger, because I really like the ginger flavor. So you need to put at least 1 tablespoon. But I put in about 2 tablespoons. Beautiful smell. So again, give all that a mix. In another bowl, you put the butter with some brown sugar and you cream it. And that means you just keep sort of mixing it. You could use a wooden spoon if you like for this. So there you can see the butter with the sugar is getting nice and creamy. So there's the butter and the sugar nicely creamed. So then we add the flour, the one that we mixed with the xanthan gum, the bicarb. And then we need to add the golden syrup. So now we're going to add the golden syrup. So here's a little trick. Doesn't matter what kind of spoon that you got. Just put a little bit of oil. Then you can start measuring out, and then the golden syrup slides out easily. You don't have anything sticking to the spoon itself. So here we put 3 tablespoons. See that? Just slid out 1, 3. So now that that's all in, okay, so let's stir all this. Now this recipe is easily able to be doubled. So if you want to make more, if you like it, it won't be a problem. And the best thing about this is that if you store them in an airtight container, they'll last for at least 1 to 2 weeks. That's if the people in the house don't eat them all before. So that's all coming in together nicely. Looks like it's time to get the hands dirty. Now with all of this baking, you can get a few things done in one day. It's just a matter of organising yourself and prioritising the things that you need to do first. For example, with my apple pie for the 4th day of Christmas. For that one, you know, you core, peeled and sliced and cooked your apples beforehand because you need to let them cool down. And while that's doing, you know, you make the pastry, you roll it out. Might need to add a little bit more flour to this. It's a bit too sticky. Okay. So go with your hands, just gently bring it all in together. And it forms a nice dough. Still needs a little bit more flour. Okay, so there you go, there's the dough. So again, we just roll it into a disc, put some Glad wrap, and then you put it in the fridge for half an hour. For at least half an hour because it has to firm up. And then once that's done, we're ready to roll and cut the gingerbread men out. There we go. We'll come back in about half an hour and we'll get rolling.
Now here I'm going to roll out the dough on some baking paper because I find it easier for when you're cutting out the shapes, so then they don't stretch out when you're moving them from the benchtop onto your baking tray. Now you could also do this if on a actual baking sheet tray, which is a really flat metal tray that is used for baking biscuits and things like that. So have a go and see which method you prefer, or you could try rolling it onto your bench and then transferring the cutout pieces onto your tray. As you can see there, I try to fit in the pieces to make as much use of the dough as possible to make your job a little bit easier. And then gently and carefully try to remove the excess pieces. As you can see here, I'm using another thin pointed knife to help remove the excess pieces. Once you've cut all of your mint out on your sheet, you can then easily transfer it as slip onto your baking tray to pop into the oven to cook.
Okay, so my gingerbread men are done. So there you can see how nice and goldy brown they've gone. So just let them cool a little bit before you try to transfer them to a cooling rack, because they're still soft when they come straight out of the oven. Otherwise you'll have broken ninjas. These just smell so nice. Now we have to be patient for them to cool down, and then once they cool down we can decorate them. Okay, so here I'm continue sifting. With your icing sugar, it can get lumpy, so it's really important to sift it, and sometimes the lumps are so big you just have to, with your fingers, press them out. So then to that we add the white of 1 egg, and then we need to add 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, and then with an electric beater, mix it all in until it thickens up. So here we go.
Here I'm just adding half a cup and then another quarter cup of the icing sugar. You just keep beating until you get a really nice smooth consistency ready for decorating.
Okay, so here I've mixed up my colors. Here I've got a lovely sort of gray. When you're doing royal icing, you just need to remember to cover it, otherwise it will dry out. That's what the egg white does. It helps to dry it out. And here I've got a red. Sometimes it's a bit hard to get a pure red. I know that you can get more intense pure food colorings, but this is what I've got at the moment, so it'll have to do for now. And then all you do is just get I'm using just little Ziploc bags. Just open up and put it in something that will hold it. And then just put in an amount that, because we're doing outlining, so you don't need a lot. And then with what you've got left over, you can always put it back into your bowl so that you can thin it down to do the filling in of the colors. I think that'll do for now. That's that one. I was going to use my piping bag with my tips, but for this, because I'm going to be doing a lot more fiddling around with this, it's just easier to put in a plastic bag and just cut off a little bit on the tip. And then we're good to go. All right, so let me tidy up here, and then I'll show you how to start with the decorating. Okay, so here we go. I'm just going to show you how to do the outlines, and then once you get the hang of this, you're good to go with all the rest. Let's get started.
Now when you're piping, just gently hold the bag between your thumb and your index finger and carefully apply pressure with the rest of your hand. Just go slowly around the edges, there's no rush, maintaining even pressure so you get an even line. If you make a mistake, stop. You can clear out the section with a toothpick, or if you're needing to join sections up, you can use a toothpick to help join those two areas together. If not, scrape it all off and start again.
Now if you need to make adjustments, if you've got a toothpick, that can help you to sort of move the lines a little bit. And then you can continue. Okay, when I finished doing them all, I'll show you what they look like. All right, I've finished doing the outlines there, as you can see. So now I'm going to fill them in. So here I'm starting with the white. I've just added a little bit of water. Go really slow, you know, literally like a few drops at a time, because you don't want it to be runny. This is sort of liquid enough to allow me to fill in the spaces. And then with the toothpick, you can move it around, or again, you can just put it into a piping bag and pipe it into the areas, whichever is easier for you. So I'll get going. So granted, this can be a little bit time consuming, but I love it because I just relax and I just zone out, get creative. So hopefully you'll find the same thing too. Or if not, you can just keep it simple, just do the outlines and you're done with it. When I've finished them all with all the different colors, I'll come back and show you what they look like. Okay, here are my ninjas all finished